If you enjoy farm podcasts, then tune into Carrot Cash Flow for all things farm business. Join us as we explore the latest trends, tips, and stories from market farmers running businesses just like yours. Whether you're a seasoned farmer or just starting out, our podcast has something for everyone. Listen in and grow with us. Available on all major podcast platforms. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Carrot Cash Flow today. If we look at some of these views that people have where they're strongly held, say they're anti-no-till and they don't do cover cropping, they follow that fallow strategy and they till. And maybe that's just because that's the way they've always done it. That's the way the generations before them did it. And like you said, maybe they're not looking outside of other resources to do otherwise. But then also they're weighing the risk of trying something different. If I do it, maybe it doesn't work. Based on your research and stuff that you've seen in the field, do you think that the perceived risk of going to a no-till cover crop strategy in terms of field management versus a tillage fallow strategy is as risky as perceived? Or do you think that it's potentially individuals perceiving it to be riskier than it is? And if they were to make that conversion, we know enough now to say that results are probably going to be pretty good over the longer term, thereby, I don't say negating, but mitigating that perceived risk that you had up front.
Yeah, it's like a long-term investment kind of thing, or longer-term investment, and you have to be conscious of that kind of scenario.
Yeah.
As a scientist, I can see that, but I'm not a farmer, again, so I can definitely see that they do see that risk. And sometimes I think when we say terms like regenerative agriculture, that when people talk about making that switch, that it maybe is a mindset of it's not just trying one thing and adapting as you go, that you have to change all of these things at once to go from conventional to regenerative. And making multiple changes, large-scale changes at once is scary. It's scary for anybody, whether you're farming or not. And so one one project that we have going on right now that's really seen success in overcoming that is called the Cover 5 Project. And we've got, I think, 10 or 11 farmers here in South Carolina throughout the state. And we basically got in contact with them because they had some level of interest in either trying something different or were fed up with the way that they had been doing things that weren't successful. And so they let us come in, and we basically show us up to 5 acres of the poorest land that you have that you can't get anything to grow on. And we're going to help you manage that land and provide you cover crop seed for 3 years. With the equipment you have, there's no new equipment you need to get, nothing else. Like, we're going to work with you with what you have. We'll give you cover crop seed and show you what kind of changes can happen over 3 years in this process. And the first time that we went out, so many of these people, they were open to it and letting us do it, but you could tell that there was a lot of skepticism in trying something different. So we started it in November of 2017, I believe, with a cool season cover crop. And I think it was like a six-way mix. I can't remember exactly what it was, but these guys planted it, and we gave them up to 5 acres worth to put in their crappiest spot. And we went back again a few months later in February or March and re-met with them and got opinions. And it was unbelievable with some of them, how just seeing something grow, even though it wasn't a cash crop, seeing something grow on land that they had struggled with for, some of them have had that out of production for 10 years. Like their perception totally changed. And they're like, oh, I want to do this over in this other area too, and here and there. That was a big learning step for me too, in that just nudging people with like little baby steps, like try this 1 or 2 things on this little part of your operation, see what happens. And then if you want to scale it up, you can scale it up. You don't have to make the transition from conventional to regenerative all at once. It's not a big step. You don't have to totally dive in. Just dip your toes in first, see what's going to happen. And it may not be the greatest thing. It may not be what you expect, but it's probably going to be something, a new experience that you can learn from one way or another. And then you move forward from that.
How many people ended up participating in that program?
We started out with 9 And I think now it's up to 11. We just had a few more that kind of hopped on later. And that's really all that I think when we wrote the grant, it was an NRCS grant, it was for up to 12. And so we were almost at our limit. And that was a big part of kind of the field work aspect of my dissertation. And we're 3 years in. We got an extension to get it through April of next year so that we can have 3 full years of cool season and warm season cover crop data. And all throughout this whole process, we've been taking soil samples and plant tissue samples and showing these people all their data and trying to help them interpret that data as well. But still, every time I go out and visit these guys, I learn something new too about their operations and about their journey. And it's just really interesting to see how in 3 years' time, people's perspectives have changed dramatically. And not everybody is as dramatic, but it seems like everybody that's involved is really on board with continuing at least cover cropping in some of the practices that we've done. But it's really exciting to see guys doing their own research now and calling me up and being like, hey, I read this. Should I try doing X, Y, or Z, instead of just waiting for me to show up and being like, okay, what do I do next?
Were those 9, now 11 farmers, was it like, say somebody gave you 5 acres originally, has that same 5 acres been part of this program since 2017, assuming the farm got in early? Or is it like
Yes.
5 acres? Okay, so can you run through some examples of how you've seen, say, soils change on particular blocks that have really shown tremendous change, like plant tissue analysis? What have you seen there? So how is this actually proved out when you look at the data?
The plant tissue, there wasn't anything that really stood out. And I got to say, we've been relatively inconsistent on when we get tissue samples too from cover crops, because some guys have gone all in after the first season and we're like, okay, I'm going to take this out of production and I'm just going to cover crop cool season and warm season for all 3 years. But other people were working with them and putting cover crop in during their normal fallow periods in their normal crop rotation. It's hard to compare all 9 to each other, and even just a lot of seasonal variations and stuff. Trying to compare plant tissue tests hasn't really rendered anything fantastic, but there's a lot of interesting soil test information, and we've looked at your standard 6-inch deep soil tests, and then we also every year are doing soil samples at depth, where we do standard soil tests here 6 inches, and then we'll also go 6 to 12 and 12 to 24 inches just to demonstrate that these nutrients are also farther down in the soil, that you don't just look at that top 6-inch plow area. And the biggest change that stands out in almost all these guys' places is organic matter. Some of them are still tilling a little bit. A lot of them have really cut it down, or have even on their whole operation gone, oh, maybe I can go and only have to till when I need to, or every 3 years or so. But they're all cover cropping. We've got a lot of them in rolling it down and planting into it. Some are planting in green. But by using that cover crop and leaving it down and having that residue, we've seen soil organic matter levels go way up for almost everybody. Even some of them are in like the upstate of South Carolina, which is a kind of a loamier soil. And then probably a little over half the guys are in very sandy soil in the coastal plains of the state. And it doesn't seem to matter what they're starting with. Everybody is having their organic matter levels go up.
Hey there, want to spend less time pulling weeds? Check out Soil Shield by Modern Grower. It's the pre-cut landscape fabric solution to help you drastically reduce weed pressure. Just roll it out, staple it down, and plant. Then let it do the work for you. Say goodbye to endless weeding and hello to more free time. Plus, it's high quality, durable, and will last for years, saving you time and money in the long run. It's available in a variety of row and hole spacings to accommodate all the crops that vegetable farmers grow. Learn more about Soil Shield landscape fabric at shop.moderngrower.co or using the link below.